All right, hello and welcome to the Tuesday topic. My name is Kata and I'm a personal trainer and group fitness instructor, and I primarily work with 50 and better, but a lot of these tips will apply to people of all ages. And today we're going to talk a little bit about the difference between stability, mobility, and flexibility. And if I look away from the camera, it's because I have a cheat sheet because I always forget what I want to say. So, starting out, we take a look at our bodies and we notice that there is a very amazing thing that our body has, built into it that it does. And that is it alternates between mobile joints and stable joints. So if you think about it, your ankle is very mobile. You can point it, you can flex it, you can invert it, you can evert it, and you can do a little bit of circumduction, doing those ankle circles. Then you move up the chain and you have your knee, and your knee primarily moves forwards and backwards. That's what it does. So it's a stable joint. And then you think about our hips. Our hips are a mobile joint because we can go flexion extension, that forwards and backwards. We can do out to the side and back in, our abduction and adduction. And again, we can do our circumduction. We can do internal and external rotation. So it's a very mobile joint. And then we start getting up into our back, and you will note that our lumbar spine, our low back, is designed to be a stable joint. So it's designed to keep our pelvis in place. Our core is nice and strong, holding everything nice and stable. We then move up to our thoracic spine, so up in the chest, and this one has some mobility. So we are able to do side to side turning, doing our side to side bending, and then we're also able to do a little bit of a circular movement. So not circumduction, but there's just a little bit more mobility in our thoracic spine than there is in our lumbar spine. And then we come up and our shoulder blades. Our scapula, those are stable. So they're not considered to be a true joint, but we want that shoulder stability in order to have a good range of motion in our shoulders, which our shoulders are obviously very, very, very mobile. So we are able to do, flexion, extension, lateral flexion and extension, internal and external rotation. A lot of different things happen in our shoulders. Then we move down and our elbow is very stable, and we are able to just move it, pretty much just up and down. We just have flexion and extension. And then we get to our wrists, which are actually also quite a bit mobile. So we can do our flexion and extension, do a little bit of the wrist circles. And then we also move up into our cervical spine, and our cervical spine is actually stable, right? So what this means, and now that we've gone through all of that, and what that means is that sometimes when you are having issues with a joint, it might not actually be that joint that you are having problems with. It might be the one above it or below it. So I've had this happen where somebody's like, oh, my hip is killing me. I don't know what's going on. And I went to my doctor, and my doctor said, well, I need a new knee. I need a joint replacement in my knee, but it's my hip that hurts. And it's because you're having issues with your knee. Your knee is weak. It's not as stable as it's supposed to be. And now this joint that's above it is having to compensate for that knee and having to compensate and do things, and it's become a more stable joint in order to protect the knee and the rest of your body. Plus, you also start walking differently, which is why you wind up having pain in your hip when it's actually your knee that is causing the problems. So, going through some definitions really quick. Stability is the ability of your body to support your joints and maintain good control and coordination throughout a movement. So you want to think about having a good, stable, strong core in order to control the movements when you are walking, running, weightlifting, things like that. Flexibility is the ability of your muscles, tendons, and ligaments to passively move through a range of motion. So basically, those muscles are going to get longer and they're going to get shorter. So this being flexible means that your muscles are able to be stretched and relaxed a little bit. Mobility is how well you can move your joints through its full range of motion to produce the desired movement. So if you want to think about stability, you think about your core being stable while you do lunges and squats. Flexibility Can I touch my toes? And then mobility, can I do things like arm circles? Can I run my shoulder through a full range of motion and do all of the things that I need to be able to do, like washing your hair, reaching up into the cupboards, reaching back behind you to grab the things that you need, or even things as simple as getting up out of a chair and walking. So, things that control our mobility include injuries, genetics, muscle weaknesses or imbalances, a lack of activity or a sedentary lifestyle, flexibility or range of motion restrictions either at the joint or the soft tissue level, decreased body awareness, so knowing where you are in the world, so difficulty processing proprioceptive cues, or decreased kinesthetic awareness. And this can be something that happens, for example, in people that are diabetic and they have the numbness and the tingling in their feet and their hands. It can also be caused by or be affected by poor form executing movement patterns. That's why I a lot of times tell my students, when you're doing an overhead press, you want to make sure that you're not flaring out your ribs just to get the arms overhead. That is a bit of a poor movement pattern. You want to keep the ribs tucked and you want to do a nice good reach. And then it can also be affected by poor posture. So if you are hunched forwards and you are rounded, it's going to be a lot harder to get your shoulder to roll through its range of motion and go through the mobility than if you had a nice tall upright posture and you were able to do all the things that you need to do. So poor mobility sets you up for injuries and limits your overall function. So I get this a lot, and I have a lot of people that I work with that they say, I'm always so tight. So I've been doing all this stretching, I've been doing yoga, but I still feel like I'm tight all the time. And that may be because they're flexible from doing the yoga and from doing the stretching, but they're having difficulty with either stability in a joint or with mobility in their joint. So if they have poor range of motion and poor mobility in their shoulders, they may still feel like they are always tight. Or if they have poor stability in their core and poor mobility in their hips, they may always feel like their hamstrings and their calves and their legs are always tight. So, what does this mean? This means that we should still keep stretching, but at the same time, there are other things that we should be doing in our exercise program to work through some of these issues. So you still want to do some stretching. Typically, when you are already warmed up at the end of your workout is when you will want to do the static stretching. But you also want to make sure that you are doing some mobility drills. So you want to make sure that you are doing some different things aside from the stretching, aside from the foam rolling, that will help you work through the mobility and help you with those movement patterns, and also work on some different exercises to help with some of the stability drills. So instead of just doing lots and lots of crunches to get stronger, doing things like planks and dead bugs to work on the stability in the center of your body, or working on stabilizing, doing exercises to stabilize your shoulder blades so that you can have a nice good range of motion and work through mobility in that shoulder. I know this was a lot to cover, and this is just kind of the tip of the iceberg. So if you have any further questions about this, please don't hesitate to put them in the comments below and I will respond to them. And then also check out my YouTube channel. I do have a few mobility drills on there right now. I think I have a thoracic spine, I have an ankle, and I think I have a hip one. And I'm going to work on getting a few more up, but I am also working on a mobility program that I'm going to be offering. So keep an eye out for that. And I hope to see you later. Bye.